Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today, at the request of a subscriber, I am playing TonyScapone's MONOBLACK SAGA STORM deck. I've played against this a few times, so it's about time I gave it a go. So this deck is essentially a mono-black Storm deck using discard in the form of Duress, Thoughtseize and Cabal Therapy to punch a hole in your opponent's hand and then storm off by either using Ad Nauseam to gain enough cards that we can just string together Tendrils, or using our Burning Wish to go and get the Peering into the Abyss in our sideboard, or just generating enough mana with things like Dark Rituals and Lion's Eye Diamonds and so on and so forth, and using the tutors to chain a couple of times and deploy a lethal Tendrils. But the key thing about this deck is that it has a really good backup plan in the form of Urza's Saga. So this deck produces some of the biggest Urza Saga tokens going in Legacy right now. So we've got a couple of soul lands to help us, but we also have things like Chrome Moxes and Lotus Petals, etc. that we can use to make tokens if we need to. We have all these artifacts to help with our Storm that also help make a rather large construct. And then once that's all said and done, we can get a Shadowspear, or we can get something like a Lion's Eye Diamond to give us that extra hit of mana we need to storm off. So it's got a little bit of flexibility built into it, and the things that usually beat the Storm stuff won't necessarily beat the Saga. So I've lost games to this deck because I've had loads of things to stop our opponents storming us, but they just make a massive guy and beat us down with it. So that's the plan here. And what's quite useful is that the Urza Saga, if you're hitting people with Saga constructs, you're reducing their life total, which means you need less Storm if they somehow deal with your Saga construct. So it's kind of like a nice two very different axes that you're attacking on, but they kind of help each other out in a nice way, which is pretty cool, and I like that sort of thing. Now, I'm no Storm aficionado, so this might not be the best looking league of this deck you'll ever see. But Tony's given me a few pointers, so hopefully I can cobble it together and do reasonably well. Let's chat about the sideboard quickly. We've got some Burning Wish targets, so Feed the Swarm, things like Leyline of Sanctity, or Deafening Silence if we need to remove it, stuff like that. We've got the Tendrils of Agony, which we can go and find with our Burning Wish, and the Peering into the Abyss, which is sort of like an alternative to Ad Nauseam that lets us draw enough cards to win the game with. Then we've got some things that we'll be boarding in. So Ether Spellbomb and Haywire Mite are really good targets for our Urza Saga to find. So this can bounce some big scary creatures or sort of prisony locky creatures that we're struggling to beat, things like Athalia or whatever. Then we have the Haywire Mite, which is just our best way of solving problem permanents. We can get the green mana off of Lotus Petals or our Mox Opals. We can also use our one of Mycosynth Gardens to filter the green mana we need, which is quite nice. We've got a Pithing Needle, which is another Saga target. And we've got these ley lines for obviously like graveyard decks like Reanimator and so on. And if we're doing that, we can board in this Helm of Obedience, and we've got a bunch of tutors for it that we can go and find it with. So you've just got like another sort of I win button there. We've got a couple of removal spells and Fatal Push and Slaughter Pact. And we've got this Echo of Eons, which is another Burning Wish target. So I think I've more or less covered what this deck does and how it functions. Now, I'm hoping that we can not make too many misplays here, but I will say right from the off that I'm not known as a Storm player, but we're going to give it our darndest here. So this is, for me, this deck is a little bit simpler and makes more sense than something like the Epic Storm or Ad Nauseam Tendrils, which has sort of lines that are more Storm-centric. This one, because it's got the backup plan, it's got more lines that make sense to how I approach a game of Magic, rather than being a Storm player. So with that said and done, I think we're about ready to do a little plug and say like, comment, subscribe. These things cost you nothing and help me out, so why not do them? And let's play Legacy. So we're on the draw here, and if my maths works out here, we can go 3 mana, 4 mana, cast Infernal Tutor, go down to 2 mana, crack our Lion's Eye Diamond in response, and we get the ability to put an Ad Nauseam on the stack on turn 1. Now we can wait a turn and try and punch a hole with the Thoughtseize, but I think this is what I would describe as a keep. We can also use our Mishra's Bauble, so we can get a look at the top card of our opponent's library. If they are mulliganing this aggressively, then we might not have to worry about any disruption from our opponent, but we might have to worry about just getting bopped by something on turn 1. But if we can put an Ad Nauseam on the stack and resolve it, the chances of us winning the game seem rather high, because that's what the card's supposed to do. Let's see how bad it is from our opponent here. Silent Clearing. Sigarda's Aid. Okay, this is like Black-White Hammer time. Okay, so we should just be able to bop them here pretty hard. Oh wow, we just get to have everything here. So we get Vault of Whispers, which is Bauble. We're going to crack this now to see the top card of our opponent's library in case we get some useful information. Like if we saw a blue card, for example. So now we're going to cast this Dark Ritual. We're going to cast this Dark Ritual. So we've got 5 mana here. This takes us up to 6 mana. So we can Thoughtseize first, or we can leave one floating. I think we might as well Thoughtseize just in case, get a little bit of information about our opponent's deck. Target our opponent. Cranial plating. Sure, so then we hold the control button, put this Infernal Tutor on the stack, crack this for triple black, resolve our Infernal Tutor, go and put an Ad Nauseam into our hand, put an Ad Nauseam on the stack, got 1 mana floating, so we can repeat this process a bunch of times until we have enough to kill our opponent, which should be relatively elementary at this point. So the highest CMC in our deck is 4, so we may as well just keep clicking until we get there because we know our opponent can't do anything here. Alright, 8, 7, 6, 2. Alright, we will not repeat the process. Okay, they're scooping because they saw these cards we reveal in them, so we're just going to chain a bunch of 0-drops and Dark Rituals into casting this Tendrils of Agony our opponent's face. Our Storm is probably going to be somewhere in the region of like 16, 17, I'd imagine. Could be more, so we're going to be dealing close to 40 damage rather than 20. Alright, sideboarding. Silent Clearing. I don't know if our opponent is running that just as a land that they can draw cards from, or if they are playing black spells. Normally Hammer is very much a mono white deck. So I think we need to be looking at Haywire Mites to break up our opponent's... so the Haywire Mites can break up our opponent's Deafening Silence, which is what I'm expecting to be the scary thing here. I think a Fatal Push is pretty worthwhile. I don't think it's worth trying to do Pithing Needle because they can do Hammer or they can do Sigarda's Aid and ignore the Pithing Needle, so I think that's not really going to work. I think we might want to Slaughter Pact in case they've got something like a Thalia they're boarding in. So this is probably about the most we can board in. Now, do I think we're going to have enough time? Like, we can just Ad Nauseam them underneath what they're doing, so I think keeping the Ad Nauseam in makes sense here. What to cut here is a little bit trickier, because I'm not an expert here. I think things like Cabal Ritual is usually one that comes out of these sorts of decks. We haven't got long to decide on the rest of the cards we're removing here. I think we still want the Burning Wish. We might need to get a Feed the Swarm or something at some point. I think the Urza Saga things could actually be quite useful here. As big guys, we might be able to race a little bit. Is it Duress? Or we can probably trim a Bauble, maybe a Chrome Mox and Duress. Not entirely convinced I've done that right, but let's see how we go. So this hand doesn't really do anything. It doesn't have a Saga and it doesn't have a Tutor, so we have to mulligan here. This hand does have a Tutor, so we can play this on turn 1. Turn 2 we have 1, 2 mana, 3, 4, 5. So we're 1 mana shy of having our Wishclaw Talisman just find us an Ad Nauseam and just go ahead. So I think we keep this, and we're probably bottoming the... It's either the Bauble or the Thoughtseize. I think it's supposed to be the Bauble here, just so we can get a look at our opponent's hand and maybe buy another turn to find that extra mana. Now, if our opponent just makes turn 1 Deafening Silence, that's going to be a bit sad. Sigarda's Aid, that's fine. Okay, a Dark Ritual. Does this change anything here? So we can go 3, 4, 5, and then this basically pays for the Wishclaw. So we can put an Ad Nauseam on the stack now, or we can Thoughtseize our opponent first in case they've got something like a Mindbreak Trap. I think I'd like to just pave the way first and see what we've got going on here. Colossus Hammer, Colossus Hammer. This Wasteland is a little bit annoying, truth be told. I guess we just take the creature here. So we should have really gone for it there. There was an argument about playing out these petals now. I think we probably do play out our resources here. So we're going to get Wastelanded this turn, I imagine, which is sad, but we are not far off being able to do things we need to do anyway. Sure. So if we draw a mana source here, then I think we're in a good shape. Okay. So if we go 1, 2, 3, so this pays for a Wishclaw Talisman and activates it. That only leaves us with 4 mana. So I think we have to pass the turn here. Our opponent hasn't got a lot going on, so maybe we should have just gone for it instead. Maybe I was a bit too cagey. An Esper Sentinel. Sure, they get to draw 1 card when we go off. Mana source, a Thoughtseize. That's not a mana source. Okay. That Wasteland being pretty good against us here. An Ornithopter. Okay, so this turn they can put a Colossus Hammer on the Esper Sentinel. Why are they not putting a Colossus Hammer on the Esper Sentinel? Oh, they can do it with Flash. Okay, that's fine. So this is going to mean that we have less chance of Ad Nauseam. Ad Nauseam is going to be a lot worse here because we're taking 11 damage now. So we really need to find a mana source here. That's a mana source. Okay, you can have a card. I do not have 11 spare mana to play. All right, so we'll cast this. 1. Storm is 3. So we've got 3, 6, 7 mana. So that's not enough to get Burning Wish and go from there. Because if we had a little bit more mana, we could Burning Wish for Peer into the Abyss, and that should be enough. So we have to make a decision here. We can play a Wishclaw out, and then Ad Nauseam here. I think that's probably best. I say best, and I'm using the term a bit loosely here. So crack this for triple black. Crack this for triple black. Let's go remove a wish counter. So we've only got 5 mana. So if we get... Storm is only 4 though, so we can't get like Dark Ritual. So we get Dark Ritual here, we go up to 7 mana. Then we go down to 6 mana. This to get a tutor. Then we go down to 4 mana. So we can't do lethal. So I think we do have to put this Ad Nauseam on the stack. Okay. So far so good. Infernal Tutor. Lotus Petal. Ancient Tomb. Okay. So we've got Storm 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This gives us 1, 2, 3 mana. 4, 5. So we need 1 more mana here. Is that right? No, because this can turn... So we have 2 mana here, which turns into plus 2 mana if we put it into the Wishclaw Talisman. So that's 3 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 mana. I think this is enough, right? 5, 6, 7. I think we don't have to take any more cards here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana, 4, 5 mana. Go down to 4 mana and Wishclaw Talisman to go and get a Dark Ritual, which then takes us up to 6 mana. Yeah, okay, so we don't need to repeat this process. So we play these out. We lose to... let's tap that for black now. We can lose to Mindbreak Trap if they have one, but it feels like they've F6'd here. So then we tap this for 2. We remove count from this. We go and get ourselves... I guess we can get a Lion's Eye Diamond, which is plus 3 mana here. It's even better. So we play this out. We hold priority. Cast this. Crack this for triple black. Resolve our tutor here. Got Tendrils of Agony. Point this at our opponent's face. Same targets for all these. Okay, so we managed to get there. I did some relatively rudimentary maths then, so that was nice. And yeah, we're 1-0. This is the sort of matchup you probably want to face, where they don't really have much in the way of interaction. We didn't have to go through any counterspell shields or anything like that. We could just win mid instant. We could have won on turn 1 if we'd have not Thoughtseized, but we got hit by a Wasteland. But we had enough time there because we took their threat. So, okay, I think I'm quite happy with that. Let's go on to round 2. Okay, this is our opening hand. Doesn't really go anywhere. I think we can do better than this. This looks better. This does look better. So you've got Thoughtseize for turn 1, and then we can go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, -2. We can put an Ad Nauseam on the stack. So we can keep this. We can chuck back the Bauble, and say done. A Watery Grave. So we definitely need to be discarding our opponent if possible. Now, we might get hit by a Thoughtseize from our opponent. A Grief. Okay, so we're going to lose our Infernal Tutor here, which is not great. If they have a Reanimate, then they're just going to put us in the dirt. Yep, there goes the Tutor, as expected. We're losing another card here. The amount of time they spent... Yeah, okay. They spent a while deciding, which means they're probably deciding what the second card was as well. Alright, I think we probably lose the LED here. Nope, we lost the Thoughtseize. Interesting. Now, our opponent is a Wasteland deck, which is not great for us. So we could just Dark Ritual out a Wishclaw Talisman playing around Days here, which I don't hate as a plan. I think that is the plan here. Let's Dark Ritual and play this Wishclaw Talisman out around a Days. We can activate it, but we can't really put much on the stack right now. So we'll play this since we've got the mana floating to go around a Days. We don't have an Echo of Eons in our deck, so we can't try and spin now. But if we pass the turn, next time we have 6 mana, so we can spin the Wishclaw into an Ad Nauseam. Now, is that going to resolve? Almost certainly not. But is it the only thing we have to do here? Pretty much yes. So let's see how we do. We also get 1 more draw, so we might get another piece of mana, for example, which would give us the ability to play around a Days at least. If our opponent's deploying something here, that means they don't have a Force of Will at least. Okay, so they left us untapped, but they didn't cast anything. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. They might just be trying to get their life total lower for the purposes of Death Shadow, or it might mean they have a 1 mana interaction. So, if we play this one out, we have 3 mana, 6 mana. So we do not get the option of Wishclaw Talismaning here. I think we just have to go for it, which is problematic. Our other option is to Thoughtseize this turn to see if we can pave the way. But if our opponent has got a misstep, then that's not really going to help. I'm trying to think what 1 mana things they could realistically have. So I think we are on... Do this, and we'll crack this for triple black. Activate this. Is there a way we can play around things that are going on here? I don't think so. I think we just have to put an Ad Nauseam on the stack and see if we can win the game or not. Okay, they had Force of Will, so whatever we get there is not going to work. Okay, so our opponent has a Wishclaw Talisman. They can give us the Wishclaw Talisman back and get something. Not quite sure what they get here. I guess they could shoot it for a Wasteland and take out our Vault of Whispers. That's probably fine. They could always just not do anything with the Wishclaw Talisman and just leave us hellbent with nothing. So this feels like a tricky one. They're going for it though. What have you got, opponent? A Wasteland. Okay, so they're doing the Wasteland play that I said. And they are going for the black source. Alright. Because our opponent plays Hand Disruption, we want to get this Lion's Eye Diamond into play. Now, one of the tricky things here is we don't really have anything good to fetch now because our Ad Nauseam's in the bin. So we might need to get a load more mana and try and do a Peer into the Abyss line. The other option we had was holding the Lion's Eye Diamond in hand and hoping that our opponent doesn't do anything to our hand, and we can maybe do like a little mini storm to hit them for 10 because their life total is only 10 right now. It's going to be tough whatever we do. This is a really bad draw, right? I guess we can get a Lotus Petal, but we don't have anything to put on the stack with this. I think we just have to pass a turn. We could do an Echo of Eons, I guess, actually. Okay, we're just going to lose that card, sure. So what we could have done is we could have tapped this for 2, put 1 into this to get a Lotus Petal, use our Lotus Petal and the 1 floating to cast this to go and get Echo of Eons, put it in the bin and spin the wheel. That might be been better than just getting beaten down by this grief for another turn, but we'll see. A Bauble. Okay. So we don't want to fire this off this turn, we want to wait till our opponent's turn so that we don't have a card that they can discard away, and we do it at the top card of their library in their upkeep so we know what it is. Vendetta. Well, I haven't seen that one for a long time. So we got 2 more turns till we die. We can always do like a mini Tendrils, which is awful, but a thing that we're allowed to do. A Lotus Petal, okay. And a Chrome Mox. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. Storm count is 2 here. So 6 mana, this goes down, gives us 5 mana. What can we do for 5 mana? I don't think we can do anything for 5 mana, to be honest. We can do a mini Tendrils for 6, but that's 1 shy of where we need. So I think we have to let our opponent have another turn. Because if we do a mini Tendrils, our Burning Wish is already gone, so we basically can't win. So I think we have to do nothing this turn, and then hope our opponent doesn't Thoughtseize us some more. So that's 1 less storm count for us. Sure. So I reckon we are very much in dead territory here. Now our opponent is on 6 though, so maybe we get there. They have 3 cards in hand, so it's not going to be easy. So we go triple black. Activate this. Maybe we get there here. So they can Force of Will 1 of these copies and survive. And then we die. Oh, we got them! Wowzers! Unbelievable. We just let our opponent whittle themselves down. Wowzers. Yeah. One of these Watery Grave where they came in untapped. That really cost them, I think. I'm not sure they needed to do that when they weren't deploying a Death Shadow either. Alright, sideboarding. So, I reckon we're supposed to get rid of 1 Cabal Ritual and bring in a Pithing Needle for Wasteland. I believe that's what we're supposed to do here. This is what I was told to do against Delver by Tony. And Death Shadow is a bit like Delver, except it messes with your hand as well. But we got game 1, so I'm already pretty happy about that. So let's submit. So with our opponent on the play, if they Thoughtseize us turn 1 and take our only mana source, then where are we going? Like, we can't really do anything with this hand. I think we do need to mulligan. This is an Urza Saga hand against the Wasteland deck. Not convinced that's where I want to be. But I also don't think I can go down to any resources against the Death Shadow deck because it's so focused on discard. Then we keep this, and we've probably bin off the Shadowspear because we can always find it if we need to. And this way you've got a decent chunk of mana available. Let's see. Are we getting Thoughtseize on turn 1? We're getting Pondered. Okay. So maybe we're okay here. We can't activate our Urza Saga on turn 2 unless we draw a Soul Land or a Chrome Mox or something. So we're probably just going to play out Swamp and Duress. Alternatively, we can play out Vault of Whispers and Duress and try and bait the Wasteland to hit our Vault of Whispers. But I don't really think that's where I want to be right now. Okay. So we get to Duress our opponent. Let's see if we can pave the way. A Force of Will, a Brainstorm. I would rather remove this Thoughtseize, because this enables their Death Shadow as well by reducing their life total. And then I'll play out this Mishra's Bauble. They're not going to force a will this. And we know the cards in their hand here, and then we're going to crack this in their upkeep, so we can see the cards that they're drawing. It's a Watery Grave. Okay. So this gives us the best chance for when we Cabal Therapy. So there's the Polluted Delta we knew about. There's the Brainstorm we know about. There's no way they're going to not have this Force of Will in their hand. I suspect that the Watery Grave is going back here, so I don't really need that much land to operate on. So now we get a card here, and we get another Bauble. So we'll play out this as a Saga. Then we'll Cabal Therapy our opponent. Force of Will, pitching Force of Will. Okay, I guess that's what I was going to name anyway. They're just doing it because they can hit themselves for 1 damage if we do it that way. Alright, so Kraken's polluted. I'm pretty sure the Watery Grave is no longer in their hand. I'm confident enough to cross that off. I don't want to play around like they do have it. I think the Death Shadow is in their hand though. We could have cracked this to see what card they were drawing. I should have done that. Although this is going to power up our Saga, so it's kind of a bit of a tricky choice because we're pretty much just on the Saga train right now. One of the things we do have to watch out for here is Powder Keg, which will blow up our artifacts. Which means I don't want to play out the Mox Opal until the turn I'm going to be using it, if that makes sense. So when I can play it and get the additional point of damage in, then sure. Now if we hit our opponent for too much damage, then their Death Shadow is going to get big. We don't really want that to happen. Like this. I think we are still on the make constructs plan here. What do we want here? Honestly, I think we probably just want a Bauble. The reason I want the Bauble is so that we can just get some redraws if our things die. I don't think we need the Shadowspear. Let's do some maths. This will put us up to 5. Yeah, I think this is fine. So our plan here is next turn to play both of these and kill our opponents in 1 swing instead. Do we need to play out this Ancient Tomb now? It doesn't matter if we do or don't actually. So yeah, so we're not going to attack and enable their Shadow. We're just going to pass a turn and then next turn swing for lethal. That's our strategy anyway. Because we delay the time it takes their Death Shadow to become a real card. So if we attack them for a little bit now, they can play it and maybe get in and block our guy. Now they might have shuffled the Death Shadow back, but I have to imagine they have it. Surgical Extraction on the Urza Saga. Okay, so this makes the Death Shadow into a creature they can play right now. Yep, so there's a Death Shadow. It is only a 1/1. We drew the Shadowspear, which is interesting. Let's have this Mox. Tap this for 2. Play this out. So we got 3. So if we activate the Wishclaw this time, or we can just play this out for 1. Have 2 mana left over, so 3, 4. So we could just try to Tendrils our opponent now, but then that'll give them... Our Storm count is 2, 3, 4, so that'll be 8. So it won't quite be lethal. Is that worth doing? Or we can attach a Shadowspear. So this will be 8, and this will be 8 tramples, so they'll take... Sorry, this will be 9. So they'll take 9 damage, but their Death Shadow will be really large. Interesting. I think we're supposed to cast a Start Ritual. And then we take this. We still have enough artifacts, so... We will lose an artifact here, though. What do I want to do here? Do I just want to try and put the Tendrils onto our opponent right now? It will grow their guy. Maybe this is just a horrible play. This does make both of our guys lethal. Okay, well you got there. So we kind of did the Storm thing and the Saga thing that one. So like at the top I was saying how both things kind of are different axes but still go towards reducing your opponent's life total. It's not like we've got a milling plan and a damage plan. They are both damage plans. So that worked out pretty well. I thought this matchup would be really horrible because they've got Wastelands for our Sagas. They got Hand Disruption. They got Counter Spells and they got Threats. That are pretty big, but we just seem to smash them quite nicely there. So excellent. Let's go on to round 3. We are 2-0. We're on the play for round 3. Our opening hand needs 2 more mana to get going. If we get 1 more mana, we can Infernal Tutor for another Dark Ritual. We do have Duress into Cabal Therapy though. So holding out for 1 mana is probably okay. I think this is just about a keeper, I would say. Could be wrong, but seems like it does one of the things I want it to do. Right, so let's Duress our opponent first. A Daze and a Brainstorm. I guess we have to take the Daze. Maybe that's wrong. Brainstorm is a pretty good spell. But we can take it out of our opponent's hand next turn, perhaps. Because they're just going to play the Channeler. No, they've just played the Volk. Interesting. Tendrils of Agony. Well, on the plus side, we're not going to be drawing it with our Ad Nauseam. But that. It's going to make some of our lines a little bit tricky. But I guess if we can cast Ad Nauseam, we should be fine. And let's Cabal Therapy our opponent and see what they do. They're probably going to cast a Brainstorm in response. Are they going to hide both of the cards? Or are we going to play some sort of weird roulette here? I think we're going to name Force of Will because if they're reshaping the hand, maybe that's the thing they'd reshape it into in case we go off. We hit the Force of Will. Excellent. So we got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So we close these ones off. We do have got Dragon's Rage Channeler floating around. We got the Force of Will. Excellent. We're not exposed to Wasteland yet. There's the Flooded Strand we knew about. There's Expressive Iteration when they've already played their land. So unless they hit a Bauble, they're only going to get 1 card off of this. So it's like an Anticipate instead. A Brainstorm. An Urza Saga. Let's play this out. Let's cast an Infernal Tutor. Reveal this. And we will pass the turn. We'll wait till our opponent draws a card here. A Wasteland. So we're going to lose our Saga. But that's fine. As long as our opponent doesn't have a counterspell. A Spell Dancer. They're not playing out this land. That means they shoved it back earlier. Let's have a look. Okay, so we've seen the days. Alright, so we need to find a mana source here. We are drawing 2 cards, and our deck has a decent amount of mana sources here. Okay, I guess maybe we're just Cabal Therapying again this turn. They can daze this if they want to. Yeah, sure. So daze is the thing we're going to name anyway, but this means they get a stack on their oil man. Okay. So we're going to take 2 here, which shouldn't be too big a deal. Our Ad Nauseam can't hit anything too scary right now. The highest CMC of anything in our deck right now is 2. So our opponent's got 3 cards in hand. I'd like to draw another mana source, but I think we are going to put an Ad Nauseam on the stack. We could always put an Ad Nauseam on the stack in our opponent's upkeep. I guess we'll see what we draw here. I think we go for it here, though. Let's go for Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. Ad Nauseam. A Brainstorm. Okay. We can pay a daze. Okay, put Wasteland into the graveyard. So I don't really know what they've got in their hands. Might as well delete all that for now. Okay, we'll repeat the process a bunch of times. So Storm is 4. We want to play around Fire Blast because sometimes these decks have Fire Blast in because you can double it. And it's pretty scary when you do that. So we're just going to keep going until we get to like 6-ish life. Because we should be able to win here because we've got Tendrils in hand. Okay, that'll do. Okay, our opponent's conceding because they saw the cards we drew. They didn't know we had the Tendrils in hand, but they could see that we had ways of making it with all these tutors and mana and stuff. Excellent. So, I believe what I was told to do against Delver is -1 Cabal Ritual, +1 Pithing Needle. I believe that's what we're doing here. So, let's submit the deck and see if we can keep this win streak going. This hand looks pretty good to me. We have turn 2 Wishclaw Talisman. So we can play out a Cabal Therapy, then we can play out a Wishclaw Talisman. Then we can go nuts with it, I guess. I think we keep this one. We're going to start on a threat. Because obviously that impacts our clock a fair amount. Sure, it's their best threat. Understood. So I think this turn we are Cabal Therapying our opponent. Force of Will is harder for us to play around. A daze. Okay, we cannot pay. I don't want to play out the Lion's Eye Diamond here. Our opponent could have things like Meltdown and stuff in their deck. So they've got 3 types in their graveyard already. So we can play out this Vault of Whispers. We can play out this Mox Opal. We can play out our Lion's Eye Diamond to play around days here. Because it turns on our Mox Opal. Okay, so we get Force of Will, pitching Expressive Iteration. To Surveil one, they left it on top. Yikes, that's a horrible position to be in. So if we get hit by a Brotherhood's End Meltdown type effect, we're in real trouble here. Yep, sure. Maybe we're not supposed to try and play around days there. That cost us 2 permanents they didn't need to cost us. But our opponent's relatively low on cards over there. Okay, so they're fixing the card they do have in their hand. Understood. Okay, they milled 1. Can we keep this Dragon's Rage Channeler as a 1-1? Looks like we can. No Bauble or anything there. To us, a Vault of Whispers. So we can play out the Shadowspear now, but I'm not really sure what that's going to achieve. It means it's going to be easier for us to get Metalcraft, which is probably fine. Although we have another Vault of Whispers, so I didn't really need to do that. Maybe we might need 1 Storm somewhere along the lines if we have to do some sort of horrible natural tendrils. Alright, a Wasteland. Goodbye, Mr. Chips. A Lightning Bolt. Sure, this is just a Surveil. They're desperately trying to put a creature or artifact in their graveyard, so this can actually be a real clock. The fact that it hasn't flipped into the 3-3 is pretty nice for us. Okay, so this time I will play out the Shadowspear, so that we can play Vault of Whispers and something else for Metalcraft. If we get an Urza Saga, we can currently race what's going on here, but it's only a matter of time before they find a Murktide. And then, although they might not be on Murktides, they might just be on like the close to the ground stuff like Delver, Mercurial, and DRC. Okay, there's the Murktide. Spoke too soon. 8, 9. Okay. Another Dark Ritual. I guess we put out the land. Okay, so we need to draw something pretty good this turn. A Burning Wish that we can't cast. Alright, we'll concede the game. Alright, game 3. We get to be on the play. And I believe we're supposed to keep things as they are. So we'll just hit the submit button. Yes, I would like to go first. What does our opening hand do? Like, there's a lot of stuff here. But we need to hit a black source. We have 3 draws to hit a black source if we keep this. If we do hit a black source, we get to manipulate our opponent's hand. If we hit a soul land, we get to just play a Saga's game. But we can just get wastelanded into the bin there. Tough choice. I'm going to keep. This is probably not one I should be keeping. I don't know. Like, it feels like it's relatively close. We have 3 draws here. I think we'll play this out so we can start ticking down into something. And then we'll have a look at what they're drawing. A Steam Vents. Okay. And a Ponder. Let's have a look what's on top of their library, what they could be drawing. Okay. So it's a Bauble. We didn't get wastelanded, so that's nice. A Lotus Petal. That is a black source. And there's another one. Okay. So we can play this out. We can play out a Lotus Petal. We can try and make a Saga construct here, or we can just deploy this Wishclaw Talisman. I like deploying a Talisman. This card is pretty good. We can play around a daze with a Lotus Petal. Okay. So they can melt down away our Vault of Whispers. But that's about it. We can get 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds next turn. And mess our opponent's hand up with a Thoughtseize. So there's the Mishra's Bauble we knew they were having. Packing it straight away, so they get an extra card in our turn. Flooded Strand. Interesting they didn't use the Volk they already had there. A Meltdown. So this is going to take out just our black source. Not ideal for us. Another black source would be lovely here. Okay, so we can float one here. And we go and get ourselves a Mox Opal. Is it Mox Opal or Chrome Mox? I think it's just Mox Opal here. We play out our Lion's Eye Diamonds. Still floating the one from the days. From the as a Saga. We need to have this in play before our Mox Opal does anything. So maybe we're supposed to get the Petal there. Okay. So, now I think we just Thoughtseize our opponent here. Play a slightly slower game. Expressive Iteration and Murktide. We will take the... I would probably beat the Murktide on our next turn, right? Do we? We do need more mana here. Guess we take the Iteration. So we can... If we pop this for... There's nothing we can pop this for that's going to help us, right? If we go and get another Lion's Eye Diamond, what does that do for us? We have a Lion's Eye Diamond in play here. We can't really cast these spells. They end up with a Wishful Talisman. I think we have to pass the turn. Yeah, I feel there's probably a different line we could have taken that turn. Obviously, if we don't Thoughtseize there, then we just have a great time instead. But if they cast their Murktide this turn, it means they can't Force of Will us as well. Because they won't have a blue card. Sure, there's the Murktide. A Swamp. Okay, this is a good draw for us. So, if we crack this for... What do we crack this for? If we crack this for a Dark Ritual, then we go 3 mana for this. So we've got 6 mana, so we can put an Ad Nauseam on the stack this turn if we do that way. So I think putting an Ad Nauseam on the stack is probably where I want to be. We lose to daze. Wait, hold on, I've done my maths wrong here. This is 3, this is 6. So we go down to 2. That's only 4. Oh, I've messed this up, haven't I? Oh, it was only a matter of time before I got caught out by my maths. How are we supposed to beat this now? So if we... Dark Ritual is 3... We don't have the mana to do this. Our Mox Opal is turned off now. We can Cabal Therapy our opponent's hand or something. That doesn't seem very exciting. We've given them a Wishclaw Talisman, which I'm not happy about. Because this goes and finds a Meltdown and we lose everything. Oh, is there a way that I can get myself out of this? So we can go and get anything that costs 4. We can do a really horrible line that gets a Burning Wish and kills the Murktide. Oh, how are we supposed to get out of this one? I guess we can hope they don't have another... So whatever we do here isn't going to achieve a victory for us. So we can kind of hope that our opponent doesn't have another Meltdown. Yeah, I think we are. I think we've made a horrible mistake there and we're going to lose. It was only a matter of time before I lost a thing to do maths badly. I did say I was bad at Storm. So this comes in for 7. Do they have a second meltdown? They might have a Brotherhood's End instead. They might have split on them. They might just not want to give us our Wishclaw Talisman back, because it is an artifact as well. Not liking this very much. We're in the exact same spot as last time, although we can generate 1 storm here. Okay, I think we Cabal Therapy our opponent. Is it Lightning Bolt or is it Daze? What's gone so far? 1 Daze. I guess we just hit Force of Will. Wow, their hand is nothing but lands. Oh, if we can draw a Vault of Whispers, that's pretty good. They're giving us the Wishclaw Talisman back. There's a chance. I imagine this is just going to be a meltdown. So, oh, it's the Lightning Bolt. And then they play the Scalding Tarn. Mystic Sanctuary, this on top of their library, which grows the Murktide by 1, which kills us. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I definitely think we could have played that one better. Although the turn we went to do the thing, we couldn't do the thing anyway. But we probably couldn't do it the turn after anyway. There was almost certainly a line that could have won us that game, but I don't really know what it is. So maybe someone better will tell me. Alright, so we're 2-1 now, so let's plough on into round 4. This hand gets to 7 mana to do Infernal Tutor into Ad Nauseam. We will keep this. We might just do turn 1 Thoughtseize and then try and do it on turn 2, but we'll see what our opponent does with their first turn because we're on the draw. I'm probably just going to Thoughtseize us and ruin our parade, but we'll see. A Scalding Tarn. Okay, so we're most likely going to want to Thoughtseize first. A Volcanic Island. But nothing to go with it. Interesting. Why did we draw this? Why would we draw such a thing? Yikes. Okay. Let's Thoughtseize our opponent. So if we draw another mana next turn, we can still put this Ad Nauseam on the stack. Okay, our opponent is brainstorming some stuff away. But we're making them use a brainstorm badly. So that's good. They get to protect their hand rather than fixing their hand. Oh, they're dazing as well. Interesting. So we might be on another Delver matchup here. The other thing it could be is some sort of Sneak and Show deck, because they run all of these cards, and the Volk. A Preordain. Okay, so this is probably Sneak and Show, which I played on my channel the other day. And because it won the Legacy Showcase, I'm not surprised to see people playing it a little bit more. A Vault of Whispers. Alright. Let's cast an Infernal Tutor like this and see what happens. I guess we'll reveal a Dark Ritual here. So we can put an Ad Nauseam on the stack right now, but that doesn't play around days. I think we're supposed to pass here. Maybe I'm too cagey and I'm supposed to just go for it there. We'll see. Like if they show and tell an Emrakul, I don't really care. If they show and tell an Omniscience Emrakul, then I very much do care. A Brainstorm. Okay, that's good for us. They probably know what we're on because they've seen Infernal Tutor, which is a card that only exists in unfair decks. And Tony's made this deck quite popular by just doing really well with it and smashing people and showing that it's an absolute house. So, okay. I'd like to find some hand disruption. A Tendrils of Agony. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. A Lotus Petal. A Lion's Eye Diamond. I think we cast this Infernal Tutor. Reel this other Dark Ritual. We can get snagged by Daze here. We did not get snagged by Daze. Can't quite kill our opponent with this Tendrils. There's a Force of Will in our future. Oh, no, okay. Alright, we'll just draw a bunch of cards here. We just need mana right now. Chrome Mox, Cabal Ritual. So the biggest thing in our deck right now is a 2. So we can just keep going for quite a while here. Okay, our opponent's scooping because they've seen a whole bunch of stuff. Alright, we haven't actually had to resolve killing our opponent from an Ad Nauseam. We just draw a bunch of cards and we just keep clicking the button until our opponent concedes. Show and Tell. I think we want the Pithing Needle to name Show and Tell, perhaps? Sorry, not Show and Tell. Sneak Attack or Grizzlebrand. Sorry. And Cabal Ritual. We could do the really cheeky play of boarding in your ley lines and your helm, and maybe getting lucky where they Show and Tell you into it. But I don't think that's a very realistic thing. Haywire Mite does stuff here, but I think trying to combat like a sneak attack is just not really where I want to be. That seems like quite a slow way to approach the game. I think Ether Spellbomb, though, might have a little bit of purchase here. Maybe we're supposed to get rid of a Chrome Mox. That's usually the sort of thing that comes out. Alright, let's submit. Okay, this one seems alright. We can make a Wishclaw Talisman on turn 1 and then do some other bits and pieces. I think we keep this. Maybe we're supposed to have some hand disruption. We're a little bit all in on this Wishclaw Talisman. Our opponent kept 7, which doesn't fill me with the most amount of joy. Scalding Tarn and 1 Lotus Petal. Okay. Alright, let's play this one out. So there's our Urza Saga. We'll play out Lotus Petal. Chrome Mox, a Lotus Petal. Let's play this Wishclaw Talisman. That resolved. Are we supposed to go for it now? Storm is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can put our opponent to very, very low life total, but I don't really know that's the thing we want to do. We can put an Ad Nauseam on the stack, but why wouldn't you counter the Wishclaw Talisman? Maybe they got a Fluster Storm? So if we've got a Fluster Storm, then it's going to be very hard to beat it. Maybe we're supposed to Urza Saga. Maybe this is an Urza Saga game. Alright. Well, I've got a feeling I'm going to regret passing the turn here. Just feels so dicey going for it. Maybe we're supposed to go for it, and then if that doesn't work, we play the Urza Saga game. But we're going to have to burn a bunch of our artifacts to do that, because Lotus Petals and the Wishclaw Talisman will go away, and our opponent will have a Wishclaw Talisman in their combo deck. So they should be able to Emrakul us. I don't think we can activate the Wishclaw Talisman unless we're guaranteed to win the game. So if we draw a bit of hand disruption, that'd be good. An Ancient Tomb. What have you got for us, opponent? Show and tell. No, we're not playing anything. A sneak attack. Okay. This feels real bad for us. I feel we're going to lose... Oh. Okay, so this might be able to find them a Lotus Petal and an Emrakul. There is an Emrakul. There is no Lotus Petal, though. So maybe we get another turn. There is a Force of Will here. Oh, wait, they haven't played a land yet this turn. So play their Volcanic Island and then put in the Emrakul, right? I haven't missed. They definitely haven't played a land yet this turn. Chooses Polluted Delta, Emrakul, Ponder, Blood Moon, Force of Will. I thought they hadn't played a land. Am I imagining that? I must be. Okay, so we have to beat a Force of Will. I think we can beat Force of Will. This is just getting the second counter, isn't it? So if we go 3 mana, 6 mana, 9, okay. So I think we go pay 1. Like, we're dead next turn anyway, so I'm not going to do the maths. I'm just going to go for it here. I think we go for Cabal Therapy in case our opponent has multiple Force of Wills. And then this one taps for black. Cabal Therapy our opponent. Force of Will, Pitching Ponder. Well, we don't really have a choice now, so let's play our Lines Eye Diamond. Let's play this for black, for Dark Ritual. And another Dark Ritual. And this. The other 2 cards in our hand, blue card, Force of Will. That would be a bit mean. Okay, so we crack this for triple black. We remove counter from here. We get an Ad Nauseam to put on the stack. We cast Ad Nauseam with 1 floating from our Lotus Petal. Like, they didn't Force of Will the other one. They shouldn't Force of Will this, right? So the highest CMC in our deck is 4. So we keep going until we get near 4. Does this win the game? There's no tutor. Oh, there is a tutor. There's this, actually. So I don't think we need to repeat this anymore. We can play this one out. Play this one out. Play this one out. Play out this. Thoughtseize our opponent. Daze. How much mana have we got here? We got a lot of mana. I should probably count the mana, shouldn't I? We got loads of mana. Let's pay. That's not really necessary, I don't think. Play this out. Play this out. Keep this one. That's for black. Play this one out. Keep this. And cast this Wishclaw Talisman. Play this Mycosynth. Copy this Lion's Eye Diamond. And sacrifice this for a black. Sacrifice this for a black. Sacrifice this for a black. Activate Wishclaw Talisman. Go and get the Tendrils of Agony. Tendrils our opponent. For many, many storms. Alright, we got one. So we are 3-1 going into the final round. So we've got our money back at the very least, which I'm happy with because I'm not very good at Storm. So let's see if we can get a 4-1 on the play for the final round, which is the place I like to be. We have a turn 1 Ad Nauseam. It's about time we played against a non-blue deck, right? Sure, we'll keep this. We get a little bit of information with the Bauble because we can tap this for black first. Our opponent's mulligan to 6 cards. Opponent's mulligan to 5 cards. Opponent's mulligan to 4 cards. Alright. Urza Saga. Power Lines Eye Diamond. Mox Opal. Our opponent seems to be in F6 territory. So let's see what the top card of the library is. Doughty Voidwalker. Okay. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. Let's cast this. And we will crack this for triple black, I think. So we've got a 4 in our deck, so we just keep drawing some cards until we get there, really. Okay. Yeah. I would have liked to see a bit more from our opponent, but Doughty Voidwalker. So I'm assuming like Doughty Helm is the most popular Doughty Voidwalker deck, and that can feasibly mulligan quite low. So Fatal Push is probably relatively useful, as is Pithing Needle here. And the Haywire Mite. These are things that I am interested in. So what are we looking at here to deal with that? It's usually like our opponent's going to be making us operate on low resources. Get rid of a Bauble. Is it right to get rid of the Urza's Bauble or one of the Mishra's Baubles? I don't know. Someone tell me in the comments. And so we'll do these things which are bad on low resources and board in these things that stop us getting like what super duper womboed. Maybe that's a bit too reactive, I don't know. Now, they might not be on Douthie Helm. We have one card to go on, so I'm going to play the most Douthie of Douthie decks. So what does our hand do here? We can't activate our Chrome Mox. So we can go Saga, Petal, Wishclaw, and then where are we going? We have to burn our artifact mana in order to Thoughtseize our opponent, which I don't really like. We could go Saga, Petal, Cabal Ritual for 3, cast Wishclaw Talisman, and Thoughtseize our opponent. And then we're looking to draw any artifact and some more mana. I think I can keep this one. Like, these decks tend to just fall apart if you take away single pieces. Oh, no. Okay. Got this totally wrong. They're playing the Death Shadow build that I played the other day with Douthie Voidwalker in. Alright. We've sideboarded wrong. I didn't enjoy that deck very much. I didn't think it was very good. So I wasn't expecting it, but here we go. So we're going to lose our Wishclaw Talisman this turn. That's pretty much a given. Now we play the game of, do I play around Powder Keg or not? I guess we can play around Powder Keg for the first turn. Now, an Urza Saga might just be able to race our opponent here. So the Douthie Voidwalker Death Shadow build doesn't have any Murktide Regents in. So there is that. Oh, they took the Mox. That's very interesting. Unbelievable. I guess we're going to fire off this Thoughtseize since we drew it. Better lucky than good, right? Force of Will, pitching, Force of Will. Okay. So we have a bit of a push and pull here, whether we deploy our Lotus Petal to dodge Hand Disruption, or we keep it in hand to dodge Powder Keg. I think I'm just going to keep it in hand for now. Like, if they Thoughtseize us, it's not the Lotus Petal they're taking, is it? But if they him us and we lose the Lotus Petal, that's not so bad. Now, the list I played of this didn't have him, but that doesn't mean they can't have him, because, you know, people choose their Disruption suites, and him's a pretty good one. A Death Shadow, sure. Over to us. As a Saga into play, play this Wishclaw. Well, let's play out this Lotus Petal so we can play around Daze, because we really need our Wishclaw Talisman to resolve. Spell Pierce. That's not one we can play around. So I think we can play out this Mishra's Bauble. We have to decide what we're doing with this Mishra's Bauble. I think we're leaving it in play to power up our construct, because if we're going to have to get rid of our Lotus Petal to make this as a Saga token. Alright, a Douthie Voidwalker. So this Cabal Ritual ain't getting any better. But their Death Shadow is only a 1-1. So we can brick wall it for a while. But we're going to come a cropper to this guy pecking us away. Oh, the Wasteland is so good here. Alright, we have to Mishra's Bauble now. A Reanimate. That's not really anything. Okay, a Burning Wish. Oh, what do we have that we can do with a Burning Wish? So we can play this out. We go up to 3 mana. We go up to 4 mana. And then we can get a 2-drop from our sideboard. Let's have a look at our sideboard. So, we could get ourselves a very uninspiring Feed the Swarm and kill their Douthie Voidwalker. And leave our opponent with a 1-1. But we've kind of tanked a bunch of our resources. I think we're supposed to pass the turn here. And try and draw into something like a Lion's Eye Diamond. They give us a bit more use because we can Echo of Eons. Obviously the problem with Echo of Eons is their opponent is a disruption deck, so we can really come a cropper if they just draw into Force of Wills and stuff. So it's going to be tricky for us to win from here, but not impossible. If they find a way of shrinking their life total so their Death Shadow gets bigger, then we are in more trouble. So a Thoughtseize here is probably the worst case scenario, but if they had a Thoughtseize, they'd fire it off right now instead of be waiting for ages. Wow. Our opponent has decided to get our Urza Saga, trading their Douthie Voidwalker. That's a very weird trade to me. Okay, they have a Reanimate. Less of a weird trade. Oh, we knew they were getting the Reanimate because we baubled them, didn't we? Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense, unfortunately. Alright, a Fatal Push. So we can kill their Death Shadow or we can kill their Douthie Voidwalker. I think the Death Shadow is the one that has the potential to grow here. So I think it's Snapping this off now while we can, and then passing the turn. So what they can do here is when the Urza Saga dies, it'll go to my graveyard and then get exiled by Dalthy, and then they can sacrifice this to bring it back, and this clock will end up slightly faster than just being down with the 3-2. And if they've got anything to tutor with their Saga, then it's going to be very good. Like, they've probably got Baubles or something like that, but we're going to need some help to win this one. Oh, this is a nice swamp. A Shadowspear. I'm going to play out this Shadowspear because it'll enable Metalcraft later on, and I don't think paying 1 for the extra Storm is going to be relevant in this matchup. We're either going to go big or not, I think. Well, is that true? Maybe we could do like a little Tendrils if we get lucky. If our opponent's life total gets low enough, we can, but let's hope they don't find anything. They could have a Pithing Needle. No, they don't have anything. So, are they going to replay the Urza Saga here? Thoughtseizing us. Yep, we're going to lose the Burning Wish, which could have gone and got a Tendrils if our opponent got a bit lower. So our opponent's on 8 now. So we don't need a huge amount here. So they should be attacking for 5 this turn, and then next turn they can attack for 7, which isn't quite lethal. So we might get one more draw step. Chrome Mox, not the one. Sure. 1, 2, 3. So if we draw Tendrils, we still can't win. Our opponent needs to go down some life. They're not going to do that without Thoughtseizing us, which will stop us being able to Tendrils them. Dalthy Voidwalker, sure. A Thoughtseize. We are dead there. Alright. So our opponent is not on Dalthy Helm, so we need to reset our sideboarding. So we don't want these Haywire Mites, and we don't want this Fatal Push, which means we get back in our artifacts, like this, and we just have the Pithing Needle for... I guess we can do it for Dalthy Voidwalker, but it's mainly in there for Wastelands. And I think that's fine, and we'll submit and see how we go. On the play, I'm relatively happy with that. Let's have a look at our hand. So this hand doesn't do anything. If they answer our Urza Saga, that's it. Our hand is completely defunct. So I don't think we can keep this one. This is a weird hand. 1, 2, 3... Like, they're going to Thoughtseize us, but we get to go first. So maybe we get to Thoughtseize them first. If we Thoughtseize them first... 1, 2, 3, 4. So our Storm count is only ever going to be 4 with this. Maybe we're supposed to mulligan this one. This is okay. I think we keep this one. Get rid of one of the Mox Opals. We need to keep all 3 of these so we have 2 mana, which means you probably get rid of one of the discard spells. So done. We go Vault of Whispers, Mox Opal, Mishra's Bauble. I think we're on casting the Wishclaw Talisman. So now we're in trouble. Are we supposed to Mishra's Bauble to get more cards into our deck? I don't think we're supposed to just yet. I think we need to keep on our Mox Opal. Okay, let's Thoughtseize our opponent, or Duress our opponent, just to reanimate there. Okay, so I think we'll play out our Lion's Eye Diamond. This way we get to Mishra's Bauble our opponent, because we still have Metalcraft here. A Baleful Strix, sure. So that's going to be what they cast this turn, which isn't very exciting, thankfully. It does give them a redraw, but it means they won't have Force of Will blue card, because none of these are blue cards. Daze is the only thing we'd have to play around, but we obviously need to find some action before we need to worry about that. That's not action. That's not action. We play out this Mishra's Bauble. We're supposed to play out this Petal. Or are we supposed to hold it in our hand? Just in case our opponent does do something horrible like Powder Keg. Yeah, I think we're supposed to hold it. Right, let's see what they're drawing. Force of Will that they can't cast. Excellent. Well, unless they have a blue card in hand. They did have a blue card in hand, but they're casting it rather than holding it for Force of Will. That's incredibly greedy. That's a very greedy play in my opinion. They did not shuffle their library. A Thoughtseize. Sure, you can see our Lotus Petal. So we now know all the cards in their hands, so we know this Force of Will isn't live. But they will be deploying a Death Shadow, who's going to be 5/5. So the amount of time we have left to play this game is not a lot. Oh yes, we're drawing a card here. So we have a Lion's Eye Diamond. We'll deploy this. We just need a business spell here. That is not a business spell. So this is 6. If they can increase the size of the Death Shadow by 1, then it's a 2-turn clock. So they have Hardcast Force of Will available now. Urza Saga. So now we're on the let's hope our opponent doesn't cast a spell of their own that they can then Force of Will play to reduce their life total by 1. Okay, so we're going to go to 1. So we can't just make a chump blocker for next turn. We have to win on our next turn through this face-up Force of Will. Okay, I don't think I'm supposed to play that one out, personally. A Mox Opal. Nope, we got nothing. Yikes. So in that last round, maybe we're supposed to just Duress first and then stick our Wishclaw Talisman. I think that was a mistake on my part that we could have done better with, really. But there we go. Let's chat about the deck. So we went 3-2, and both of the rounds we lost, I think I could have played better. One of them, I'm not entirely sure what I did wrong, but I know I did something wrong. And then the Shadow one, I think we should have Duressed first. But yeah, so the deck felt pretty good. Also, we did sideboard wrong for the second game because we assumed our opponent was Delphi Helm rather than that sort of clunky Shadow build. But we lost to it, so that's sad, but such is life. So what do I think of this deck? I think this deck is really good. It feels better than the actual Ad Nauseam Tendrils deck to me, but maybe that's because it's slightly easier on some of the lines to sort of navigate. Obviously, we still made mistakes here and there, whereas like proper like what they call Ad Nauseam Tendrils has got some more complicated lines and Past in Flames routes and stuff like that, whereas this has got less routes like that because you have the backup plan. So this personally is something I'm more attuned to, so I do prefer it. I think the discard suite here was quite a lot, but we didn't always find them we wanted them, which is a shame, but again, that's the sort of variance. It does feel a bit like if you fall behind, it can be a bit tricky. Maybe we need to be a bit more bold. I think the way we failed, a lot of it was down to me not necessarily knowing the optimal routes and when we should be doing what in our sequencing a little bit, like in that last game. So yeah, I think the deck is good. The pilot could do with a bit of work with Storm, but we got a 3-2, so you know, we got our money back, which is all you can ask for when I try and play Storm, because I do struggle a bit with Storm sometimes. I don't know if there's anything else we wanted out of the sideboard that we would change. Obviously, Tony's been doing loads of work on this, and he's one of the premier Storm deck builders at the moment, and just one of the best Storm players going right now, in my opinion. He knows what he's doing. He's always near the top of the trophy board. He makes so many new Storm decks, whether it's like the Epic Gamble, MONOBLACK Saga Storm, or his new Vindictive Flamestoker Belcher deck that I played the other week. So he's put all the work into these numbers, so I don't really have any opinion on them or how to change them, because I am the novice here, and the thing I need to work on playing this deck would be my play, rather than trying to tweak the list at all, because I think the list is fine. It's a case of me having to learn the lines a little bit better than we did, and the sequencing and so on and so forth. Yeah, haven't really got much else to say about that. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a deck that's a little bit out of my comfort zone, but we did pretty well with it. So a little thank you to TonyScapone for giving me the deck, and also giving me the little sideboard guide. There's only a few lines of text, but it helped and it came in handy. And in the comment section, in the description of this video, I'm going to drop a link to Tony's YouTube account, so you can go and follow him. So you should go and do that, because he puts out some great content, and if you like Storm, he is the person you should be following, really. He knows what he's doing, and he always builds some really interesting decks, and I quite often try and give them a go because they're good. I think this is the third one of his decks I've played on the channel, so make sure you click that link and give him a follow. Alright, thank you very much for watching, and while you're here, like, comment, subscribe. Do these things, help me out. Thank you very much. Alright, goodbye.